Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and inviting us in. We look forward to a productive meeting based upon we have three objectives based on your requirements that you gave us. We want to show how you can take a proactive manner in capturing content and data at the scene, providing more accurate data, more real-time content, and reducing risk. And you also submitted us a number of data, a lot of data. We'd like to take you through analysis of that data and the results of that data, and then provide you the foundation to expand that scope of other data sources and what effects that would have on the requirements that you gave us. So,
can you have everyone on your team at least say their name just so
let's introduce our team with. I'll let my colleagues go ahead and introduce themselves.
Brian Nealman, my specialty is data security and data privacy.
Good afternoon, Joel Jorgensen. I work with the business analytics solutions, more with the business users and the IT users, but again, it's analyzing data and determining results.
My name is Steve Mazer. I'm a product specialist, so I'm focused in on the integration and the data quality areas of this solution we're proposing.
And my name's Ron Wehent. I'm the ECM specialist assigned to FUBAR. I've worked with your company a number of years, and I want to take you through the first objective, which is the capturing of data and content up front. And so that's done through a proactive manner, and we're gonna show you how we can improve the accuracy of data, get the content more in real-time mode, reducing errors, risk, providing, and so it all starts with the intelligent car. We know that your drivers are significant numbers that are distributed throughout, and through this sensors that we can place on the car, we can predict traffic jams. We can improve the efficiencies there. We can look at the weather. We can look at the maintenance of the car. Whether a tire is getting low, but we can also sense a accident, and those sensors of the accident will then activate an event in our system, create what we call a case. It'll activate the case, and immediately what that case is going to do is send the initial review to the mobile application that was supplied. I know your development team, your web development team, your app team is taking our SDKs through our mobile SDKs and have started to test these applications. But so at the scene of the accident, now we can start capturing the time, location, the driver information. In addition to that, we can set up a structure, an organized structure. I know your content is distributed through all over the networks and file shares, and you're having difficulty locating that content and discovering the content and supporting a litigation act as well. So this will set that structure in a single platform, and so we can start collecting police reports, evidence, correspondence related to this accident that's happened.
Is there any, sorry to throw a question out there, but is there any advantage, I guess, to taking this approach versus just a custom mobile app that we just code by hand?
Yes, all our systems are all integrated, and we're going to use this system that I'm referring to as a data source for further data analytics. So those integration points would have to be developed through your teams. So
we're going to integrate with the OPT to data feed from the car and actually sense the accident at the time it occurs and automate this, thus eliminating the chance of the driver just driving off and not reporting the accident.
Okay.
So you'll capture every accident.
So Brian, let me see if I understand. You're saying that if I'm driving a car and I'm working for Fluber, and I get in an accident, somehow will automatically capture that the car's been in an accident.
Correct. You're familiar with progressive snapshot. That thing you plug into your ODD to get information about your driving habits. We're going to build a custom version of that you can deploy to your drivers that works through Bluetooth to the app on the phone and automatically sense text and open the case.
Great.
Okay, and at the same time, at the scene of the accident, we're going to collect a number of evidence of that, including, pictures of the accident, the scene, the weather conditions, the capturing of driver's licenses, and we're going to use advanced data extraction techniques to validate the data and collect that data as the case progresses. So, on the device, we'll show the quality of that image, and we'll also utilize things like the camera roll to collect a number of photos. We're going to take the interview process, so the video at the scene, an interview of the well, not only the driver but the whole incident itself, and then through the OCR and data extraction techniques, get all the data into a structure that can easily be adapted through our systems. In addition to that, we know your drivers have multiple devices, so it's the iOS and the Android devices as well. And as I mentioned, your development teams have already taken our SDK and developed some of that. So let's take a look at a short demo of this and what it looks like at the user level. So what I'm going to do is bring up the case manager client, and you can see here is where we've collected the initial review of the form. We've collected some of the policy data, Rick Means, his address, time of location, and so forth. And at the same time, we've searched the systems for any other cases that have been occurred by this driver.
So this has automatically been,
So, pardon?
this has been automatically collected? I didn't have to do any entering of data in here,
It has been automatically collected through that process at the scene of the
Okay.
accident, through the photos and the other media types that we've collected there. And in addition, we're doing a search for additional history of that, so we can detect any fraud or frequency of claims. So in that case, we can take an action to require a fraud check, those type of things. So we've also have tabs here that collect the information around the vehicle, what's been damaged, the location, the type, the claim information that we have. And over here, if we look at our documents, and it looks like my screen is scrolled down, but you can see here's the a photo that was captured at the scene of the accident, and a single click here will bring up that photo.
Looks like you have to pay your bill to Microsoft as well there, I see.
So as you can see, and
so you got late check. That's great.
and if I look at the home, we can look at additional tabs here, and I'm having a little trouble with my real estate, but here's my scroll bar. No, scroll bar must be over here. Well,
A perfect case for replacing our projectors with a little bit higher resolution.
all right. So let's. I just want to look at the police report. So here's that. Remember, I talked about the organized fashion of the structure of the case. Here's an area. So as the police report comes in, we use the tools to enter it into the repository. It automatically associates itself with this case, and the police report is then filed. And this should look familiar. A lot of your police reports look the same. But and so that was a quick 5-minute overview of what we could do in terms of capturing and organizing content. So with
Why don't
that,
you take Q&A while I hook up my machine then, Ron?
Okay, thank you.
So you showed all that on the desktop. We really didn't. I guess there were some screenshots of it in mobile. What would it take to deploy it on mobile then, so that I had access to those police reports on mobile?
Yeah, I had any mobile device, Android or iOS. I had it on my phone. I could have done it live here today.
So
But
it works
it's
automatically.
a simple download from Google Play
Okay.
or the Apple Store, and implementing the connection string to that.
Nine minutes left. Just so you know.
Very good. Yeah, boy, this screen really does squish it, doesn't it? Thank you, Ron. Yeah, Ron did show it on POCs. If you're interested in taking it to the next level and doing a POC, proof of concept, we could be happy to take this information, load it into your personal car, and go out and crash it. Show you exactly how great it works. Again, my name is Joel Jorgensen. I'm here to represent the business analytics side. As part of what you wanted to see, you gave us a large volume of data, some 900,000 records, basically around litigation and litigation attributes. So we are able to, well, we're sort of able to show it. It's not very well here, but we'll see what we can do. What I did with the data is it's very dimensionalized data, so we have a solution that is excellent at loading in large volumes of dimensional data and dimensional attributes, allowing you to drag and drop and do pivot tables. Everybody here knows how to do a pivot table, where you can just orient to different versions and dimensions that you need to see. I loaded that up there, and I wanted to do a quick example of some of the outputs that we can do with that data, and then we'll turn it over to Steve for the end, and he can show you how we can get at much more of your data with the pictures and the graphs and the unstructured data and so on. This kind of really kills it when it's not very big here.
Scope on the right.
Yes, this is why you have to come in and set your screens ahead of time. What this shows you is there's a, oh, this is not easy to do. There's a whole lot of attributes that you sent us. For example, what type of event was it? Where's the location? When is the date and time? The driver information, city type. You had weather type of data in there. Was there a lawsuit? Was there a police report? We basically loaded that all up, and with this solution, we're able to create very easy pick lists or basically selectable dimensions. So anybody who's not trained in it can still go in and start looking at and narrowing down that data. So if I wanted to look and see, this really kills the story here. So right now I'm looking at whether the party was not guilty or guilty, and whether this is the blue is the repair cost, the orange or brown is, I guess, green up on the screen here, is the litigation cost. So if we wanted to start narrowing that down, we could just pick and say, well, were they overtaking another vehicle when that happened? I can just click on that, and it will very quickly reorient and repaint the data so we can kind of see what the results of those are. Was he going around a curve? I can actually combine different dimensions and different attributes by easily picking that up, including weather data and so on. So was it a clear day? Was it not a clear day? I can continue to do this and then get all the analysis that I want. However, if you're familiar with the drag and drop and you want to do a more drill down type of environment, I have some different tabs on the bottom here where I can physically go in here and just drag and drop different information. Now I already went through that to save time and determined that a lot of the data happened, or a lot of the liability issues were on clear days, on dry conditions, outside of a city center but in a town, straight and level roads and so on and so on. And what I found out was two major areas here based on your data. First of all, there was a lot of other motor vehicle collisions that were rear-ended, and the second highest was deer accidents. So again, clear, dry roads, but a lot of deer accidents that happened with that information. So this is New York, or was this is in New York, outstate. There's a lot of trees and deers in outstate New York City. But we do. If you want to narrow it down, we also have all the municipalities we could continue to look at. But based on my 5 minutes, we'll have to do a follow-up call for that. Then I created a tab on the bottom to analyze deer situations more specifically, just to show you that my deer litigation analysis. Apparently a lot of deers out there are suing us. We need to figure out why that is and who their lawyers are, apparently.
5 minutes left, just so you know.
Yep. So really the data is a little bit deceiving, that it actually is not because of snowy weather, cloudy weather, dark weather, whatever. It's actually just because there's a lot of deer and we need to find out where those deer are. To do that, we could actually tie it into just geo data. And we are starting to look into that kind of stuff, and that's where Steve's going to take us next, is taking it to the next level and getting even more data that you want to bring together and start doing further analysis and even predicting the future of how to better run the business.
So I was focused in on some of the data that you provided us. So I needed to set up and bring in this data to make it ready for analysis. So one of the things I did is I actually went into our BlueMix capabilities, and I grabbed essentially a warehouse called DashDB, where essentially I could then stand up an entire warehouse and then start bringing in that data that you provided us. And so I came in, and we essentially can load, also with that data you provided us, we can load in the Twitter data and the geospatial data and all those types of things as well. So we actually then imported and brought in all that data using our integration infrastructure, because all this data today is on premise, and we were going to talk about how we can actually securely bring that data on premise from off premise and into the cloud. So I actually used our integration capabilities information server, where I actually grabbed all the data out of that file and essentially loaded it into a DashDB cloud environment. And one of the interesting things you mentioned too is that you want to make sure we desensitize the information, so we actually used our data masking capabilities embedded in this inside of information server, essentially to then mask that information. We found there's over 100,000 social security numbers that actually aren't valid social security numbers within the 900,000 records that we started with. So we actually kept those, isolated those, and allowed those to then be remediated and addressed as well. To further address some of the work from the other teams, we also talked about how we could actually use like the DOT marker information to do a lookup to grab the geolocation information as well. So now we're enriching as we're validating the data and masking the data, and then we're actually loading it into TM1 to do the analysis that Joel just talked about. We also can load it into DashDB, and then we can start bringing that into Watson Analytics. So once it was in DashDB, now we could actually bring that in and import that into Watson Analytics. So all the things that you saw and learned about Watson Analytics is now available here by having that infrastructure on premise and have it in the cloud, and then have all these integrations and added capabilities here as well. Does anybody have any questions? There's some interesting litigation here, but I see we're kind of out of time.
Yep, 90 seconds if you want to show anything.
So I was going to point out one thing. We also took the same data and ran it through our test data management to de-identify that data for testing. So really, we have three options to secure your data. Like Joel did, don't bring it forward because it's not necessary, or use the data integration tools to de-identify, or use the Optum to de-identify that data. And then when we store this in the cloud, it's stored securely, it's encrypted at rest, transmission between your site and the cloud is encrypted. So we're taking your requirement for securing data very seriously.
So why did you approach this with the DashDB solution versus, say, a NoSQL database? I think our app developers now use MongoDB, something like that. So what would be the advantage of using DashDB versus Mongo or another NoSQL database?
Well, and that's what's nice about having this integration infrastructure, because if you go back to my my integration job, I actually fed it to two different locations. So there might be different analysis in different forms, and set it up for analysis. So if you have some MongoDB developers, we essentially could copy this same reference or provide it into a different form as well, so that the MongoDBs could still do what they needed to do. But there certainly is advantages to DashDB, and we can certainly talk about those as well. But the good thing is here is that it really doesn't matter. We can still do whatever you need for the analytics teams.
Great.
Thanks for your time.
Nice job. Look good.